are you seeing more females getting in trouble now?
No, it's more females taking advantage of opportunities to, rehabilitate themselves.
Okay.
They have children, and I don't know. It just seems that the females are more, progressive, and they're easier to work with.
Okay.
Because sometimes the brothers, they talk to you about 4 or 5 minutes, and then they telling you, what you need to be doing, or why you ain't doing it right. So they need to change and become more humble.
Good evening. Thank you for calling.
Yes, Brother White, it was excellent topic, and Sister Wayne, I want to just say this. Brother White brought up something very important, and that is no one ever asked for the accountability of those getting hundreds of thousands and millions of taxpayer dollars. And it seemed like, and I'm not being racist or nothing, but it seemed like the small minority organizations that are worth more than their weight, they are always called into account about every nickel and dime, and it be nickels and dimes. But what we really need to see, a good program like the Motivational Center, it should be funded, because a lot of African Americans, especially males, are in this new system I call of systematic slavery, where they say, oh, we was going to hire you, but you committed this crime in 1965, so we can't hire you no more. And these are the kind of problems that I think that the government, and I'm hoping that Dennis Williams, and I'm politicking, not Brother Dwight, I'm politicking that Brother Dwight receive a substantial grant, because the work he do is measurable results.
Thank you, Elder.
Thank
you, Elder Brown.
Thank you, our Republican friend. And that's what I was going to say, because I asked you, was it a cost? And I wanted to put a plea out there, because I know it takes time, energy, printing, people to come, for people that would like to give to please do so. And prayerfully, as Pastor said, maybe he's putting a bug in somebody's ear out there. I mean, you've been doing it for 15 years, so.
Well, let me just say this. People know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And
say that one more time.
People know the cost of everything and the value of nothing.
That's good.
And I believe that the Word of God says this. He says that if you serve God by serving His people.
That's right.
And we can get money from the government to help other people, but we can't get none for ourselves. Right. So we don't ask for ourselves.
Right.
We're over at the Muslim Center, and I'm blessed to be a member of the board of directors of the Muslim Center. And so sometimes you have to, use different strategies to get things done. And so helping people, for an example, when we first started, Sam Guy, I have to give Sam Guy his props, because when Sam Guy was a city councilman, Sam Guy and I discussed this, and he knew at the time I was operating, we had another program called the Pretrial Service Program.
Okay.
Right? And what we did was that we got people out on nominal bail, third-party custody, and a part of that responsibility was helping them to become gainfully employed. So Sam knew my history, and Sam knew that a lot of jobs were being produced in the beginning of the Seals administration, and a lot of these individuals weren't qualifying for it. So what we did was put together a pardon project. And so when we started, I think we did get about $25,000, $30,000. That's been over 11 years ago.
So that money's going.
And well, most of it was used to do criminal background checks, require certified court documents, running around. So we did it that way. So immediately after, and I don't mind calling names.
This is Community Crossfire.
This is Community
Go
Crossfire.
ahead.
Now, immediately after, I think Mayor, I think who became mayor? After Seals left, okay, it was Ted Blunt. Now, I said, well, Ted, he became the president. I said, well, are you going to continue the party program? He said, no. You know, as a matter of fact, I got a letter before he was even sworn in, you know, telling me the program would be discontinued. But that was okay.
Right.
You know, because there are two things, being a God-fearing man, that I have made my slave. One is expectations. I don't expect nobody to do nothing for me. And two is those things that you covet. See, it's nothing that I have that I can't do without. The Motivational Center has blessed me and enabled me. See, I'm a graduate of the Motivational Center.
Okay.
My mother received her GED at the age of 42 from the Motivational Center. So it was the Motivational Center under a Republican administration. It was Hal Haskell. You know, he was the mayor. And so it enabled a lot of us from the Valley to enable us to go to school. So then for the last 30 years, I've been giving back. This is what I do.
All
And
right.
I'm going to eat.
We're going to take another call.
Thank you.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Wayna. This is Wanda. Hi, Dwight and
Hi,
Kurt.
Wanda.
Hi, Cousin Wanda.
Hi. I just wanted to share a little bit because, as you guys know, I had 3 sons, and my oldest son died by suicide at the age of 22. And a lot of people don't know a lot behind that whole situation. Well, Chawan, when he got out of high school, he needed half a credit for history, and he was going to go to summer school, but before he could even go to summer school, he was in a car with a friend, and they got stopped, and the police found marijuana in the car, so they were both, sent to jail. So he spent a year just waiting to go to trial, and every time I went to court with him, they would postpone it. And then when a year was up, what they did was charges dropped, and he was able to come home. And this was the first time he had ever been arrested in his life. And so when Chawan went to search, he went to school, he went to summer school. My mother would take him every morning and got his half a credit and got his diploma. So when he went to look for a job, he would put on the application that he had been arrested, when they ask you. And every application he filled out, he was turned down. So this last time, he lied and said he had never been arrested. And that was at the Sheraton, and it was only for a maintenance job. And he was hired. But he was only there for like 2 weeks. And they let him go when they found out he lied on his application. He was so excited to get a job, and I had just gotten a divorce, and it was like the boys and I were going to start our lives all over again. But he was so hurt that he couldn't even tell me that he lost his job because of that. And one of my other sons told me. But then Chawan, he got depressed. He got depressed, figuring, I can't even get a maintenance job. What kind of job am I going to get, And he just got depressed, and I didn't know it was depression because I never knew about depression, and I took it as him being lazy. And until he robbed a bank. He robbed the Wilmington Trust Bank right up the street from where we live. And that's when he killed himself when the police came to my house looking for him, and we were all outside, and I heard a gunshot, and my brother was trying to convince him, to turn himself in, and it was such a weird situation, I'm getting dressed to go to work, and I see a picture of him from the bank surveillance, and I'm like, Tawan, they just showed a picture of the guy who robbed the bank, and it looked just like you. And he's like, that's not me, Mommy. People were asking me that last night. But, it was him because, your child, he only had on sunglasses and a baseball cap. But when they came to my house, it was like 5 police cars. And they came to my house, and we had to let them in. But my brother Curtis convinced them to let him go and talk to him. So he went up to talk to Chawan, and Chawan was hiding in the attic over top my bedroom. And he kept denying it to Curtis as well. And then finally he said he was coming down, that, he was giving in. So when Curtis turned around to tell the police that they were coming down, he heard a gunshot, and he looked back, and my son shot himself in the head. So I didn't know what Tawan was going through. I took it as being lazy because after he lost that job, all he did was lay around. He didn't take care of his hygiene. He wasn't himself, And it wasn't until I took it upon myself later on to learn about mental illnesses and depression and all of that. And then I could look back in hindsight and see that that's what my son was suffering from, that I didn't know about. And I just wanted to share that with you all, and I have another son that's going through the same thing right now. He went to Route 273. They had a job fair, and he went on his own. I didn't tell him about it, and he applied for a job. They said okay, and they gave him an interview, and he was so excited, and he called me, Mommy, they hired me. Told me how much they was going to make, and the only thing that he didn't like was they said he had to shave his beard, but that was okay because he had a job. Right. And so they told him he was going to start on January the 8th. But nobody ever called him back. He took a drug test and everything, and he wasn't concerned about that because he doesn't do drugs. So he was they said somebody would call him to give him the information on, when he comes to work on the 8th. So he never got that call, and he called them, and they said, we're sorry, you have to wait until the person that does that calls you back. Well, nobody ever called him back.
Well, let me say this to you, sister, because I definitely feel, and empathize with what you're sharing with us, and your son, ask him to come out to this workshop. We have to have we need support there for everyone that's out here trying to find a job. Because it's very easy to dismiss a person as being lazy, and not trying to find a job. It's with a criminal history, especially when there are those that don't have a criminal history. So we have to be
he does have a criminal history.
He has a criminal history.
He has a criminal history, but he hasn't been in the system for 11 years.
Okay.
Right.
11 years.
And
he has no pending charges or anything.
Well, this is definitely...
Wines, I'm going to end the call so we can take other calls, but I'm going to let Brother Dwight finish saying what he was saying. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
I just want to say that we need support systems for young men re-entering society. It's a lot of discussion about re-entry, but then a lot of times we have never entered to re-enter, And so the story that the sister shared, I get calls all the time with people that will tell or not, but won't tell the truth on the application.
Right.
And so now I can deny you because you lied.
Right.
you know. So
Missing the facts.
Go ahead. You wanted to
And I
share?
also want to share that, you know, a lot of people don't do this work. There are a lot of people who are reluctant to do this work. You run up against a lot of opposition when you're talking about the restoration of people's rights.
Right. Right.
If you look at the makeup of the state legislature, both in the House and the Senate, they're not people down there that care about whether you get your rights restored or not. You're a convicted felon. That's all they know.
Right.
And a lot of people like to term or describe them as returning offenders. I like to describe them as returning citizens because that sounds much better.
Right.
Everybody has a right because one mistake does not define you as a person.
That's
and this
true.
is what the
That's
state
true.
of Delaware needs to realize. One mistake does not define a person as a person.
You're right. Brother Dwight, I have another guest that's coming on, so I want
Okay.
you to
Okay.
look into the camera
I'm
and
looking.
and share with them the information that's coming up
Well,
this Saturday.
Now, this Saturday, January 26th, from 9 a.m. until 12 noon, we're hosting a citywide Pardon of Innocence workshop. It's at 2102 Northeast Boulevard, Wilmington, Delaware. And I'm Brother Dwight L. Davis. My telephone number is 654, area code 302-654-1993. I'm on Facebook. You can hit me up on Facebook. And I also have, it's dlamontdavis@gmail.com. And it's free. And it's informative. And come, but you can't just come once. You can't come with a microwave mentality.
Right.
You're gonna put in a little and get out a lot. Come prepared to work and to get your rights of citizenship restored.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you too, Wayne.
I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be back with my next guest. Good evening and welcome back to Community Crossfire. I'm your host, Wayne Dobson. And because it is Community Crossfire, my next guest, I texted him after church and asked him, would he please come on the show? And he said, because I asked, he definitely would. So thank you, Councilman Justin Wright, for coming on Community Crossfire.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good,
The
good.
reason why I asked you to come, Justin, is because I wasn't at the last city council meeting.
Okay.
And you know how Wilmington is. So I heard that you had that you was a little upset at city council. So I just wanted to find out what you said, because you know how Wilmington is. A lot of times people say stuff, but if you're not actually there, so I'm sure there's people viewing that heard something, but I want to hear it from you, if you don't mind, to whatever extent you feel like sharing.
I think really, for me, it was just, from my standpoint, I just had to voice my opinion as far as the facts of what had taken place previously through some discussions and things of that nature. But, you know, they can feel free, WITN on channel 22. You can view the council meeting there. You can go online, WITN22.org, and go to January 17th council meeting and look at the petitions
That's
and
up already?
communications. Yes.
Okay.
And look at the petitions and communications segment. And then that's where I just voiced my opinions about some decisions that were made regarding my committee assignments, things of that nature. But
That's all you're gonna share? Come on now, this Community Crossfire. So, I mean, are you weren't happy with some decisions that were made? Is that what it was?
I guess for me, I just wasn't clear on things that were stated,
Okay.
that conversations that possibly happened that did not,
Okay.
and just getting some clarity again on some things.
Okay, so let's talk about you. Congratulations, you got
Thank you.
reelected for
Yes.
city councilman
Yes.
at large.
Yes.
Let's talk about like your duties as a councilman at large, because there are people that's viewing. They know that they have, you know, their district councilmen, but there are how many at-large councilmen?
There are 4 at-large council members on Wilmington City Council. We serve the entire city as a whole, as well as the president represents the entire city of Wilmington. So we assist district council persons. There are 8 districts in the city, so we assist them with any concerns that come up. City council in itself is a legislative branch of government, so we make laws and oversee the budget.
Okay. The one thing, and I do have to say this, and I know that sometimes it can be very controversial being on city council. And I guess just even from Trippy, just sometimes when I'm at some of the meetings,
Right.
like it might be one or two people that say nay and everybody else is saying yay. So I really appreciate those that are our city council that stand for what they truly, well, I guess let me say this. I think you stand, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
if you're representing the people,
Exactly.
then you really need to vote for what's best for the people and not your personal interests.
That's correct.
You agree with that?
That's a part of our oath that when we were sworn in.
Okay.
Place the public interest above all personal.
Do you think that happens consistently?
I can't speak for other people.
But you do that consistently?
That's my goal at the end of the day. But one thing, a lot of times, people aren't privy to all the information. So sometimes it may seem as
When
though
you say people, you mean the
the
council people?
constituents,
Okay.
as far as the citizens, they may
Okay.
not be aware of all the information, and sometimes you just don't have the ability to share everything. But sometimes you have to make the best decision as you feel for the citizens of
Okay,
Wilmington.
that's a good point. Because I'm sure there's sometimes that you might get something and say, okay, we're going to vote on this. Like, does that happen? Like, how far in advance do you know that there's something coming up that you have to vote for?
Well, the way council works, most of the time, once a resolution may come up that way, an ordinance, you have a first and second reading, it goes to committee, then it comes back to the body, third and final reading, and then you vote. Resolutions, they don't have to go through that process. They pretty much just come up. But all of the resolutions and the ordinances that are on a council agenda are printed prior to the
Okay.
meeting. Actually, it's the Friday before that Thursday meeting where it's
Okay.
actually publicized.
That's good to know, because sometimes I felt like, okay, when you come in Thursday,
Right.
you grab the thing, you hurry up and read over it,
Right.
and then it's a vote. But that's good information. The Friday before
The council,
Thursday, anyone can just go down there and grab it?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The final agenda normally is posted by that time.
Okay. All right. Do you tell me what you feel about? Let me say this. I'm excited about the city with Mayor Williams and the things that he's saying that he's going to do, and I believe that those things are going to happen. He said give him 2 years. I
Right.
give him less than that, because I just I see
Gotcha.
things. I mean, I see things moving at a rapid pace already, and he's only been there for a week or two already,
yeah.
2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I see a lot of good things taking place. So what's your thoughts on the city and changes, especially with violence?
Number one, we have to support any measures that are going to be taken to mitigate and to prevent violence. I mean, that's a no-brainer for me. I do also believe that Mayor Williams has a progressive agenda, and I believe he is moving forward. He centered himself around some good people, substantive individuals, qualified, in my estimation. So I'm looking forward to Wilmington being augmented as a result of his leadership as well.
I'm glad you said that. I mean, new people, because the one thing that I definitely admire is that he's not like picking the people that people might think that he should pick.
Right.
He's picking. There's a lot of younger generation,
This is true.
which says a lot, because like for once I feel like, okay, we have someone that really is willing to hear what we have to say. I'm putting myself in the
I hear. You are. I give you that.
A few more years
You
later,
and Amber
I
are
might
sisters,
not-
right?
Right, me and Amber's my sister. Thank you. She hates that.
I know.
Okay. But yeah, I really commend him on that, because I see different ideals coming to the table. So
Definitely. Frederick Douglass says far better strengthening youth rather than to repair the elderly. So at the end of the day, I think there are some young people that are qualified, to serve in those positions, as the people Wilmington thought I was. I mean, I was the youngest one elected 5 years ago, really.
right, because you were, you said 5 years
5
ago.
years
You were
ago.
how old?
I was 25.
25, 26.
Now I'll be 30 this year though.
I know.
In September, yeah. So
Okay, yeah,
the
so
big
you was the
3-0.
youngest.
Yes, and I'm still the youngest currently out of the council body.
Right, okay.
Still the youngest member. Yep.
Okay. And there's some new team members on city council.
There are.
So how's that going so far?
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Can't complain. It's a process for everyone. Just as it was a learning experience for me 4 years ago. Now they're going through that same process of learning how to find their ways, understanding if they can, achieve some of the goals that they set forth, and just here to, be a helping hand if I can.
Okay, one more question for you. Where do you see yourself? You have 4 more years on city council at large. You have any plans for after the 4 years?
In 4 years, my son will be 6.
Going to first grade.
Yeah, so I definitely want to focus on my family and our business. So I really can't tell you right now. I just want to focus on this term that I've been elected to, 106th session, and again serve the constituents of Wilmington to the best of my ability throughout this time.
Okay, you willing to take? We have a few more minutes. I know you have to get home to your family, but do you mind if we take a few calls?
I mean, you can. Yeah, my
Okay.
son is a little under the weather too, but you can go ahead.
We'll take 2 calls. If you put the number up, Alvin, if you have any questions regarding city council for Councilman Justin Wright. Now, I laugh at Norman because he be, put the number up, Alvin.
Right.
And remember to turn your your television all the way down.
Right.
So the next meeting is going to be when? The meetings at City Council are?
The first and third Thursdays. And the public comment portion is at 6 o'clock, and the actual meeting commences at 6:30.
Okay.
In the months of July, it's the first 2 Thursday, and the month of August is the last 2. Kind of like to create a break of some sort. So that's the normal schedule.
The one thing that I'm really hoping that, we have a call. Let's see. Good evening.
Yes, hi. I had a question for Councilman Justin Wright.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Could you turn your television
Yes,
off?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. My daughter had been brutally beat by a police officer, a Wilmington police officer. And I've been getting a runaround about trying to get a report put into the police department. They won't accept the report that Pastor D told me to get. And I'm just having a hard time trying to get this case settled because they ended up pressing charges on my daughter. And they trying to give her felony charges saying that she assaulted the police officer. But he ended up giving her a concussion, punching her in her face.
Wow.
But I don't know where to go or what to do or who to talk to.
Well, first off, I'm sorry that this situation occurred. Nevertheless, I would encourage you possibly to, if you want to reach out to the Attorney General's office, and also he has an office called Victims Compensation, who may be able to help with any medical expenses, provided everything works out through their process.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Sorry.
Wow. I mean, we don't know the full story.
Right.
But, I mean, we talk about the other type of violence, but here we have a call in that a police officer, I mean, was she like I don't know.
I don't know what you're saying.
I'm just saying, like, was she had to really be out of it or something for them to give her a concoction?
I mean, I don't know what
we don't
occurred.
Know so.
I can't. I won't even begin to.
I know.
assume
Me
on
neither.
that.
I'm not going. Right, but I hope that it pans out. So.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, I appreciate you for coming down.
No problem.
It's
Thank you
Community
for having
Crossfire. Wasn't what I expected, but
I'm
you was a
sorry.
man of your word.
Definitely.
And so tell the. Let's take one more call
Go
real
ahead.
quick. Good evening. Hello. Oh, they hung up. Can you give the website information again for people to go view for their own, to see for themselves what took place?
It's pt.2.13, and it's under, click on watch online, and then the city council meeting and last meeting, which was the 17th, and under the petition communications portion.
All right. Thank you for coming, Dan.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so very much for tuning in to Community Crossfire. I pray that this week is the best week of your life. God bless.